I think when people hear the word estate, they picture a mansion or they just picture someone who has millions of dollars. So, can you explain what an estate actually is?
Estate does have that connotation. You think of lots of money, you think of mansion, but the term estate it's actually a legal term for all the money, property, and personal items, less debts a person owns up until the moment they pass away. It essentially encompasses a deceased person's net worth, regardless of how small or how large. It could be $500, $500,000, 500 million. It's all an estate.
So, for our listeners, especially parents who are managing busy households, why is this conversation relevant to them, even if they don't consider themselves wealthy?
Well, I guess the fact is that every family leaves something behind, whether it's a financial value or of emotional value. And yes, there are disputes over money when it comes to settling an estate, but there are just as many disputes over small items that have particular sentimental value. And it's those disputes that can't be reconciled effectively in a court of law. And those are the wounds that never heal in families. So it's important to get things set up ahead of time. And a will is not just about assets. And for younger families in particular, a will also allows you to list guardians for your children should something happen to you. So very important for people with minor children, so under the age of 18, to have a will, if only for that.
Let's talk about the executor. Who typically ends up in that role? And can you talk about the responsibilities that they have to take on?
Absolutely. What's interesting in Canada is there's a stat that I quote in my presentations. To think of it this way, 92% of Canadians over the age of 45 plan on asking a family member or a close friend to be their executor. So that's a lot of people who have zero experience in this role, and they're taking on being an executor. So for a lot of family members to take on that role of executor, the majority, as I said, of these people really have no experience. You can't practice being an executor, right? You just start when the time comes. And they dive in, give it their best effort when the time comes for the role to start. But unfortunately, the nature of the role doesn't lend itself to trial and error. The beneficiaries, the courts that stand behind them have an expectation that that executor will excel in their role. And an executor, by definition, is what we call a fiduciary role. And what a fiduciary is it's a person who's held to a higher standard of conduct and care because they're managing and distributing property that belongs to another